Hello, and we have to talk about something. That's right, it's going to be the ETF again. A lot of ETFs. Gary Gensler said there were 8 to 10 Bitcoin ETFs under SEC consideration. And that's what we all knew because that's kind of like how many were actually filed. Someone else just refiled today as well to shore up some of those SEC discrepancies to get accepted, obviously. And of course, the SEC, if they accept one, they basically have to accept them all. Like most of the analysts, pretty much every market analyst says, like, there's no way the SEC is going to accept BlackRock's and not accept ARK's because they're all the same thing. Same thing for Grayscale and all the others. And of course, the judge essentially has ordered the SEC to take a closer look at Grayscale's ETF. So the thing is, like, we could get several in at the same time. But there is a chance that some analysts did point out that Gary Gensler could just be waiting to completely rug pull all of us and deny them on the last date. Now, we're going to talk about the possibility of this chance and why I think it's very small. I've read a lot of literature and market analytics about this, and I agree with most of the market analysts that the chance for this happening is very, very tiny. Because remember, I think it would be higher if the SEC actually won against Grayscale in the lawsuit, but they lost. So if they were to, deny BlackRock, Fidelity, ARK Invest, and Wisdom Tree, Franklin Templeton, all those big guys, first of all, there'd be a lot of fat cats pissed off at the SEC. And the SEC, as mighty as they are, doesn't really like to piss off that many fat cats. Because obviously because of donation purposes, but also because these guys do help craft the industry and they do help craft regulation and they're very big and powerful. And of course, if Gary Gensler wants to go work at one of them afterwards, it's not going to look too good if he actually denies their ETF. And like I said, if he accepts one of them, since they're all filed under the same circumstances, he kind of has to accept all of them. He must accept his defeat and accept an ETF. But he could actually deny all of them. It's in his power to do so. But if he does deny all of them, there will be a lot of lawsuits, just like the Grayscale one. And the Grayscale template has already given those companies a way to actually, a template to actually beat the SEC into submission. And Grayscale would obviously sue the SEC for another arbitrary reason. And the thing is, the judges know that the SEC already lost the first lawsuit and they're just basically suing for more time. So they would not actually be all that pleased with the SEC trying to stall some more. And I think the other lawsuits would actually resolve even faster. And some of you are saying, well, Gary Gensler's only denying because of the big banks and financial firms. Well, some of the biggest financial firms are the ones filing for an ETF. So they're not going to want the SEC to delay their own ETF. So there's a lot of special interest involved here. So I think the chance of Gary Gensler trying to rug pull us and denying all the ETFs is completely just not going to happen at all right now. I don't think there's any chance. There's very little chance of that happening. I mean, I can't say there's no chance. There's always a tiny speck of chance that it does actually happen. But the thing is, based on what's going on, based on their legal defeats, essentially, recently, they have to actually accept an ETF through. If they don't, they're going to get themselves into a lot of trouble and they're going to lose a lot of face. Now, the SEC's already lost a lot of face, but they don't want to lose even more. Every single lawsuit that goes against them makes them look even worse, makes the head commissioner look worse, and loses them credibility in the crypto space. And like I said, I know they're allying with Elizabeth Warren, Brad Sherman, etc. But Elizabeth Warren and Brad Sherman also don't have that much credibility in the crypto space, relying on a fake Hamas report to actually try to take down crypto. And the judges and everyone are just not falling for it right now. They're not aligning themselves with the SEC. They've ruled against the SEC multiple times, not just once, but multiple times. And I think overall, the SEC knows that legally it doesn't really have a way out. And they don't really want to set up themselves against all these big financial firms because all these big financial firms see that non-US markets or the international market already has a bunch of Bitcoin ETFs, ETPs, and other products. And they really want to get into the game. So I don't know if the SEC can like withstand all that legal pressure from these multi-billion-dollar firms. Like they haven't really been able to. The thing about the SEC on crypto is they really haven't been able to win against American firms that are actually well-funded. Like all the big well-funded ones, they lost against Grayscale. They lost against Ripple. They're probably going to lose against Coinbase. Binance is another story because there's like other charges in Binance, but they're losing against all the big American firms that actually can defend themselves against the SEC. And I think they're going to lose against these gigantic banks. And if they have like loss after loss after loss, especially a class action lawsuit against them with all the big banks, they're going to look really, really bad. And their credibility will be completely shot. And the thing is, like, I don't think even Gary Gensler wants to take that kind of L in court. He's just delaying it as long as possible. But the thing is, like, I think outsiders know that it's going to be accepted, and that's why you're seeing these big money transfers of Tether into Binance, and I expect to see them at other exchanges as well. So realistically, I actually don't think Gary Gensler is going to rug pull all of us, but there is like a 2% chance that he might. And if he does, he's going to get pawned by a lot of these big companies, and he's going to get doubly pawned by Grayscale again because he already got pawned by him once, and I don't think he'd actually win the second case. And that's why I don't think he's actually going to deny the ETFs. The legal ramifications for the SEC would be disastrous if he did. Secondly, SBF has come up with some very interesting, and his lawyers, very interesting arguments. So the first thing is like he actually said like spending his customer money, which he's not supposed to do, by the way, based on his TOS, was his risk management system. That's right. He didn't want to risk his own money, so he decided to risk yours with his risk management system. Obviously, I think this is like a desperation call from SBF. I don't think this argument's going to work in front of the judge because even SBF's own TOS said he couldn't actually commingle money. And of course, he had a shortfall of $8 billion to its customers. I think all their other arguments have actually failed. So they're coming up with this like BS argument that I don't think has a prayer of actually working. So as told by SBF, like he doesn't really remember anything about particularly employees, but you know, the attorney general or the person that was prosecuting him kindly reminded him by his own tweets. And he had to admit, at FTX, I was paying attention, but not as much as I should have been. Well, you know what? He probably shouldn't have been playing League of Legends too much on those company meetings. So the thing is, like, he also did things like he gave the Bahamas Prime Minister floor-side seats at the Miami Heat Arena. And he also doesn't actually remember that. But this whole argument right now is like he was spending the FTX customers' money was part of risk management. And obviously that's not going to fly. He's trying to get off on some of his sentencing by doing this, but obviously it was illegal. And he was trying to say like, I spent customers' money for the good of the company and for the customer. Yeah, I don't think that one's going to work. I just don't think that's really going to fly as well. And his lawyers have even made like an excuse based on English law to try to get him off the hook, or British law. But since this is the United States, we don't completely go by British law. I just don't think that's a very good argument for SBF, guys. I really don't. And the thing is, like, it's pretty obvious to me now that his lawyers don't expect to get him acquitted. That the whole reason why they want the judge to instruct the jury to rule on base of British law is because it's slightly different. And under those laws, it might be more likely that one of them eventually rules in favor of SBF and you get a hung jury. Because a hung jury is probably the best you could actually hope for in this case. I don't think it's going to happen, especially after yesterday's cross-examination of the testimony. But like, it's not impossible that it happens. It's a very small chance, but it's not impossible that it happens. And if there is a hung jury and they have to redo the whole trial again, the prosecution has big incentives not to lose the case, so they would actually bargain with SBF's legal team for a lighter sentence and say like 10 years instead of like 30 years. So I think that's what his prosecution team is looking at. I think it is a long shot. It's a Hail Mary. It's like you're down by 8 points at the end of an NFL game and you have to throw a Hail Mary from like 60 yards out into the end zone. And then after that, you have to convert a 2-point conversion to even make a tie and have a chance of winning. I think that's the situation they're actually in right now. And I don't really think that this this is going to work. And it's like the other team is just better than yours right now. Because like with all the evidence against him, like his lawyers have probably advised him that, hey, we can't win. This is the only shot we have. So, I mean, the pleading insanity case obviously isn't going to work, but we're going to have to try to jig the rules and hope the judge instructs the jury to rule on the basis of this like British law, because, it might apply to here because, I guess we're technically all British or something. And maybe at that point, we can get a hung jury, because I definitely think a hung jury is what they're actually going for. I highly doubt they're trying to get acquittal, because some of the arguments they're making and some of the stuff he's actually admitted today in front of the jury doesn't really make all that much sense. And obviously, like his argument of saying spending FTX customer money was part of a big risk management thing. That's obviously him saying, I actually spend customer money, which he's not actually allowed to do under his own TOS. Him saying like, I don't recall anything is obviously another facet of that strategy. Obviously that doesn't work because he's had so many tweets and interviews after FTX fell apart that like they're just completely grilling him over the coals with it. And I'm very, very glad they're actually doing that with him. So that's their plan right now, to try to like jig the system so that one person in the jury makes it a hung trial. And I hope that the people in the jury do not actually fall for this, because that guy deserves to be in jail for a couple of decades. So that's what I have to say for today. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.